English language, Form 1 on auxiliary verbs, and the page numbers are page numbers 14 to 15. Let's have a look on learning objectives. To be able to understand about auxiliary verbs in phrases and its usage. And also if we consider on learning outcomes to use auxiliary verbs in different circumstances. Alright, basically when we say auxiliary verbs, we use auxiliary verbs as a mode of helping verbs. And also one of the main points would be that it helps to create different tenses, and it also creates different aspects when you write a sentence or when you write a piece of writing. Now let's have a look on examples of different kinds of auxiliary verbs. Here I have mentioned a list, and let's have a look on that. There are words such as be, do, have, can, could, will, would, shall, should, must, may, might, ought to, used to, need, at last, we have dare. Alright, when we focus on auxiliary verbs, there are main words that we use when it comes to auxiliary verbs, and those are be, do, and have. But apart from there are other auxiliary types of auxiliary verbs that we use. Those are known as modal auxiliary verbs and semi-modal auxiliary verbs. Semi-modal verbs. So let's have a look on, firstly let's have a look on auxiliary verbs and some examples, alright? So for the main auxiliary verbs we have be, do, and have. Now for an instance we could say, have you lost your mind? Do you have the right to ask me that? And when it comes to modal auxiliary verbs, the set of words that we use when it comes to this category would be could, will, would, shall, should, must, and also might, may, and might. Alright, so for an instance, as an example, we can use I may have to change my plans. It might rain today, so that we'll spoil our trip. We shall have to think about what to do, because we must not waste the day. Alright, so when it comes to this sentence, the modal auxiliary verbs are may, and then there is might, and also there is what else, shall, and also must. Alright, got it? Okay. And the next type of auxiliary verb, set of auxiliary verbs would be semi-modal verbs. And now this is quite different, because when it comes to this, there is a certain way that we use these kind of words. So for an instance, I have mentioned some examples over here. Let's have a look on that, alright? So these examples would be you ought to go out once in a while. That ought to be a barrel of laughs, alright? Alright, let's have a look on modal auxiliary verbs. When it comes to modal auxiliary verbs, we basically use it to express a mood or a tense. Alright, so there are certain kind of modal auxiliary verbs that we basically use, such as will, shall, should, would, can, could, may, might, must, as I mentioned previously. Now I thought of giving you an explanation on how to use the modal auxiliary verb called shall. So now when it comes to shall, we mainly used it with the first person pronoun such as I or we, and also it says that when it comes to a future tense, we use will. We can say we shall go to a movie, or we shall go to a concert, so on and on. Alright, and also we use it with a third person pronouns as well, such as I or you. Moving on, If we focus on the word call may, which is a modal auxiliary verb, we use the word call may as a more of a polite manner, to ask for permission to express wish or hope. So for an instance, we could use the word call may in this kind of sentences such as it may rain, he may be at home, he may miss the rain, you may go now, may I take this pen, or may I go out, so on and on. Alright? Thank you for joining with us. Have a nice day.